wasn't able to join us. So I'm stuck with beautiful me. And we're going to continue our stroll through the days of creation, which is what J.J. Hertog refers to in his sixth key, because he writes that if we examine the book of Genesis involving the 7 days of creation, we see that the 6 fields of light come together so that on the 7th day, the transmutation can be added to the physical chemistry of life. Oh, he just wanes in such poetic writing. Therefore, on the 7th aeon of light, the races which were evolved during the first 6 aeons of time are superseded by the 7th ray, which is the planting of our Adamic household of Kima and Kesel, intelligence on the planet as a witness to the evolving nations. Well, we'll get to that last part in a while. Now, we looked at the first day. And in the first day, we had this light moving across the waters, stirring them about. This light, in many writings, is referred to as the germ, or as Helena Blavatsky likes to put, fohat. Everybody likes to be different, you know. We got to have that little hook there, that little bait. But the germ is mostly how they refer to it. And that's what stirs things about. That is the spirit, because the spirit animates. It vitalizes. It's that vitality that Sharon is looking for, to be open to, that permeates everything. And we explored that. And we're going to look at the second day. So in the second day, there was created the firmament in the midst of the waters. What waters? It didn't say anything about waters the last time, did it?
The light was moving across the water.
Oh, that's right. The light was moving across the water. So there was substance. There was light and there was water. 2 different aspects of substance. Because light is substance. If you can see it, it's got substance. If you can feel it, it's got substance. Light is just light. So we see it. It reveals. And then there's the water, that deep, dark water. I seem to remember that. I've got my notes here somewhere, but I'm not going to dig them out. I'm going to see how bad my memory is. But we had that deep, dark water that could be mind. Because mind is so mysterious, so close to us often. So we have that. But in the midst of this, we have the firmament. And what forms in water besides the fish?
Algae.
It may be the algae, the plants. We haven't gotten to the plants yet.
I thought it was talking about, volcanoes rising up from the, across the bottom of the ocean.
Okay.
But what about
Forms? What forms in the water? Especially with you ladies there. What forms in the water?
What? Infants?
Yes, infants works. I'll take that one.
Okay.
I'll take that one. The fetus.
Okay.
The fetus forms. We get some kind of formation taking place. But we haven't got to that point yet. So we're talking about something different taking place. Possibly talking about, we've got the deep there that was mentioned in the first day. So it could be mind. And what is it that mind does automatically? What's the nature of mind?
Generates thoughts.
Generates thoughts. Generate, create, yes. So we have thoughts taking place. And one of the things I want to bring to light here is that in the Eleusinian teaching, they say the soul, which is light, light beings, that soul of God living across the waters, is encapsulated in a tomb. Well, that's what they call it. They call it a tomb. And you know what that tomb is that they refer to? Anyone?
Physical body.
Yes! A physical body. They call it a tomb.
Good description.
Really? Now here's the interesting thing. Because in similar writings, they call the tomb, or the sarcophagus, or even the ark. Remember the ark? You know, that would take place long time afterwards. So we've got that ark there of Moses and everything. You know what they refer to them as? You know what they actually are symbolically representative of? We just touched on this. Very beginning. Ladies, you know? Wombs.
Okay.
Wombs. They're all wombs. They're female. Ooh. I can think of a lot of men that might not like that. So what are your thoughts about that? Just right where we're at. What are your thoughts about that? Firmament. We hear firmament. What comes to mind with firmament?
Well, it depends on how it's spelled. But it's
F-I-R-M.
That's round. That's land, isn't it? Like it was F-E-R-D, like fermenting. It's like, well, that makes sense for little babies fermenting in the womb.
You're leaning towards, I was thinking about this the last time we had this, the last time I was here. The talk about this Genesis as the forming of waters and land, you're talking about formation of entities.
Close.
The creation of beings,
Yeah.
not the land and the
Exactly. This is before all of that.
Beginning of life.
And
Life.
well, awareness. I mean, we're separating from the one. We are becoming individualized.
okay, that works. We're becoming individualized, separated. And he's created firmament in the midst of the waters. So we'll go on. So this firmament being created is a form of some sort. What form, we don't know. We really don't know yet. We'll find out eventually, but I don't want to jump the gun, so to speak, and get ahead of myself, which I do quite often. So we come back to the water. So we have emptiness and darkness. Right? Again, emptiness, darkness. And then there's the water. So this suggests there's always some kind of substance. I think I said this before. Look at this. I've already gotten ahead of myself. There's always substance. And the substance is fluid. Light is fluid. But yes, light is fluid. Just ask TNT with their fiber optics. Water is fluid. Water takes the shape of whatever container it happens to be in. So it's fluid, but it's substance. Light is the same way. Light will take shape of whatever it has encapsulated it. And why? Because it fills it. You take a light bulb that's lit or a candle, you put a cover over top of it, and the only thing you've done is you've illuminated everything inside the cover. That's all. It's still there, it's fluid, it's taken on a new shape. So we have substance that is malleable. So you could say we have mind and emotions. They're both malleable. So there's always something going on. So the waters are being separated. Water being firmament above and below. I probably should have kept the rest of that. So what is it that's happening? We have conscious thought, which is light. We have the reflections of light, which is illumination. We have the waters, which is emotion. We have the beginnings of what might be called the Hermetic principle of correspondence. Because, well, there's a reflection that's happening here. You separate the two, there's a reflection. What does water do to light? It reflects it. Exactly. That's where they get the idea that everything begins in spirit and is reflected onto the physical form. And everything that's happening on the physical form is reflected. Well, I don't know if that actually works. It sounds good. But I don't know if that actually works. Has anybody ever seen light reflecting light?
Isn't that a prism?
A prism splits light. Yeah, but it splits light. It splits light into a variety of frequencies. It just came to me. I don't really have an answer for that. It just came to me. This whole idea of correspondence. The idea of, okay, so whatever happens in the realm of souls is reflected here, and whatever is reflected here is. But when we look at the body, now the body, once we get the substance, then substance it does influence this outer realm. Yes? Does it make sense?
Well, our energy within,
Yeah. Our energy within.
of course, is going to come out.
It's got to go somewhere.
Gotta go somewhere, so that it does interact with the soul, the space, the light.
Well, how is it that cells communicate? Yes, but how do they communicate?
They're covered with these little
But how do they communicate? You've got all these wonderful answers, but they communicate through light emission. So that does what? That means what? How about you, Sandy? What are your thoughts? You've been quiet. I know it's difficult for me to see you. I have dismissed all of them and pay my attention to you.
I kind of like Sharon. I'm feeling like really lost in this. I'm writing things down because the Lord helps me think. But I don't really have a good tangible comments to add to this. I did look up, grab my phone. Of course, we've all heard the word firmament our whole lives, but it just struck me that I really don't remember exactly what that meant. So I looked it up, and it said the firmament is the heavens or the sky, especially when regarded to a tangible thing. And that's just what came up on my phone when I looked it up for a definition. It's probably not, but I recognize what you were saying when you said about the tangible thing, that when it was physical, water, that I understood, but I'm sorry, I'm not I'm not having a lot to add to this discussion, but I'm trying.
No, you're right on target. You're right on target. That is the firmament, the heavens. You know, that's at the very end, where it says that, you know, and he called it the heavens.
Yeah.
Because the
And
whole,
that was probably a pretty simple definition. It's probably more involved than that, but that helped me though. Just helped me get a grasp on it a little better. Yeah.
yeah. So let's just work with that then. I'll go off script here. I don't mean to confuse people. Sometimes it just happens, especially if I don't have the rest of my stuff here. You know, when I wrote this all out, I wrote it out as one long piece. It's about 6-7 pages, and I can only do one small section at a time. And you know, obviously I made a boo-boo, big boo-boo. But hey, it happens. Every so often we have to embarrass ourselves so that we know what to do next time. So let's go with this whole idea of firmament being the heavens. And by the way, I was just told that what reflects light and substance is when they come together, is it's the atmosphere. The atmosphere reflects matter, because we see the blue sky, it also reflects light. But again, it's a prism. How interesting. But he divided the waters. So we've got substance here. We begin with water, and then he divides it. And he takes one portion of the water, and he calls it the heavens. The water typically represents a couple of things. Sometimes it's the stream of consciousness. Sometimes it's emotions. So if we work with the idea of water being the stream of consciousness, when he separated the waters, and he called it the heavens, we have both. Because within that stream of consciousness is the intellect or intelligence and emotion. And what is it that the one thing that we like to do? Oh, you're too emotional. Oh, you're so smart and you're cold. It's interesting because the intellect is referred to as being cold and emotions are referred to as being warm. An interesting analogy. I'll have to explore that sometime. How did that happen? Either we're Spock and we're considered cold and unemotional, or we're a lunatic and that's all we are is emotion. Hysterical. I wish I knew what point I was going towards because I completely lost myself. But does anybody have any thoughts? Would you like to add any more, Sandy? What have you wrote down?
Well, I wrote about the water being divided, and so I just basically wrote what you said about the stream of consciousness is emotion and intellect, and that you said half of it, and maybe I didn't write this right, but half of it is to the heavens. So when the water was divided, what is the other half? Is that the earth? Is that and that's too simple, I'm sure, but.
We're getting to the earth.
Oh, okay.
Everything begins as what?
Thought, energy.
A thought. Everything begins as a thought. So that's the realm that we're in. We're in the conscious realm is what we're in. Because everything begins as a thought. And what is it that we're trying to do? Yeah, think. We're trying to think, but we have no clues to what we're doing. So we feel our way around. But what is it that we're always trying to do? And I'll put it in terms that you may be more familiar with. Male and female. Active,
Receptive.
potential, active, receptive. What is it that we're always trying to do? Androgynous.
All I could hear was homogenous. I'm thinking of milk. Let's play word games, that's where my brain goes.
We're trying to bring together the male and female aspects, male and female principles. That's what we're trying to bring together. And those principles have so many names attached to them that we get lost in it. But that's what we're trying to bring together. So we're too emotional or we're too intellectual.
We're trying to harmonize.
Exactly, we're trying to harmonize. But before we can realize that we need to harmonize, what do we have to do?
We have to be aware.
You have to
Now I'm getting cut the mustard because you're emotional.
and he divided the waters.
So we have a stream of consciousness above and a stream of consciousness below.
No, you have a stream of consciousness.
Stream of
A
consciousness.
stream of consciousness.
A stream of consciousness.
It was divided. So it's not that you have a stream of consciousness above and you have a stream of consciousness below. There you go. Two halves of the whole. So before you can understand the whole, you have to do what?
Understand each half.
That's a start. Understand each half. You have to divide it. The whole purpose of duality is examination. You split something apart in order to look into it, to study it.
So is this the whole the male, female?
It can be, yes.
Male?
If that works for you,
Okay.
it can be,
Okay.
yes. You can think of it, you can reword this
Right.
as you've got the androgynous God, the God that is male and female,
Right.
and it separates. And through that separation, you have male and female. That's the only way you understand that there are two aspects. Is by division, duality. Harmony is both good and bad. But in order to understand harmony, you have to know what good and bad are. So we have a stream of consciousness, which has been split. Now we have the intellectual, and we're going to have the emotional. We're going to see, as we move through this, we're going to see how things begin to come together. Is it starting to make sense?
That makes better sense.
Good. Explain it to me now, because I have no clue what I said.
I mean, at a physical level, all I think of is male and female.
Okay, work with that.
We incarnate into this existence as one or the other. And our lessons are to learn how to be them. Be those. Well, I'm not working properly. Our lessons are to work with those concepts when we come into this life. It's influenced by everything around us. So I could be this time turning around, or last time I could have been something kind of different. But all of those experiences made me what I am today. So I'm not done here. So speak about the intellect and the emotions, balancing that as a human being in whatever gender you are. Life experience. Kind of where
And the life experience is the whole.
okay.
And each time you reincarnate, you separate. That's one way of looking at it. If it makes sense to you, that's the way you work through it. Ray, do you have any thoughts?
This thought just came to me, and I don't know where it came from. Go back and talk about the oneness and all of this coming from the oneness. But what if the oneness, what if the whole purpose of this is for the oneness to become one again? When there's this separation, we perceive that the oneness still exists and all of this has moved from the oneness and we're trying to get back to the oneness. What if the oneness split and the oneness is no longer a whole and the oneness is trying to become one again? And all of our experiences, because we are a part of what was the oneness. And the mission is not necessarily for us individually, but the oneness has split. And somehow the oneness has to become one again. I don't know where that came from.
I like that.
The oneness is
I
not
like that
complete,
concept.
it's separate. I don't know where that came from, but it's like the whole mission is for the oneness to become one again.
Precisely. Did you catch that, Sandy?
I did, and it's funny because I was thinking a very similar thing, Ray, about the purpose of the division to, I guess, and the objective is to bring us back to the whole. So,
But I'm saying there's no whole. I'm saying the whole has been split. And the whole is it because the whole was bored? Is it because the whole wanted to expand? And I don't know what the reason is, but it has to come together.
Exactly. How does it come together? How will it come together? They call it reincarnation. Move into a wholeness, and then we move out of that wholeness. So the wholeness, as Ray is explaining it or expressing it, and I like that you are whoever's working with you is keep them around, because that's exactly it. The whole dissolved, and in its dissolution, it became us. And we remember this wholeness because it's never gone away. And we're trying to get back to this wholeness, but this wholeness that we're trying to get back to is no longer there because it's dispersed. So now we all have a different wholeness that we're trying to get back to, not realizing that for us to become whole again, to become that wholeness, it has to take place on a different level because we can't become whole on that level again. What is nature's purpose? What happens in nature?
Birth, decay, death, rebirth.
Yeah. What else? What's the whole purpose of birth, decay,
Seasonal.
and what else?
Seasonal life.
Life, growth. In what fashion? Darwin's theory,
Oh, evolution.
evolution. To go from simplicity to complexity. So the whole that this is referring to no longer exists because it becomes a different whole. And before it can dissolve into something more, again, it has to come together. And in order for it to come together, there has to be some kind of harmony. And if you remember, harmony, this is harmony, which is a circle. When you split this whole, you have good and you have bad. They're polar opposites. According to the Hermetic principle of polarity, good has bad in it and bad has good in it. But until our awareness reaches a degree to where it comes together again and it becomes harmony, we realize that there never was good, there never was bad, there's simply harmony. So as we continue to evolve, we come to this realization that we are already a whole. But that's a concept that's much, much deeper than what all of this is. Does that make sense, Ray? How about you, Sandy? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that basically that you were able to express it a lot better than me. Yes, definitely. That's the path I was thinking, but I wasn't explaining it exactly right. So definitely. Very good.
Does that make sense, Beth?
Well, what I'm picturing is, so all of us are like little individual cells. We're communicating by light, and this little group has come together because like attracts like. And there's other little groups out there that are like attracts like, and it's trying to find each other to meld, to evolve into a bigger, and gather more, and gather more, and gather more, evolve.
But there's one flaw to what you're presenting.
I'm sure there's many flaws.
Yeah, but I can only think of one.
That's kind of good on my behalf.
And that is the idea that all of these little groups, these little cells, people are going to start thinking we're terrorists now.
Oh boy.
But all these little cells cannot be the same. For harmony to take place, they cannot be the same. Because if they were all the same, then what happens?
We'd be the amoeba.
But there would be no growth. So for the whole, for harmony to exist, we need peaceful people like us, and we need violent people as well. Because only together do they form a harmony. However, in a lot of instances, we have these people who think they are peaceful, raging against these people that they say are violent. And then we've got these violent people over here raging against the pansies, where you've got violent people over here who accept the world as being violent, and they're equally as valid as these people are. Now that's a tough concept for people to grasp, because we're conditioned in such a way to dismiss that no, that can't happen. But if all were one or all were the other, there would be no growth, no expansion. And for the whole to reform, which it probably is in the process of, it's reincarnation. All of that has to take place, because that's what allows us to evolve. Just look at your life. Our lives are filled with all kinds of misery and kinds of joy and all kinds of sickening stuff and all kinds of excitement, but that's what makes a whole life. Just something, a little something to think about. So before I close this up, would anyone like to make any last comments? Any last thoughts? Ready? Sharon? Beth? Sandy?
I'm good.
All right, we're all good. Yes! So before closing the second day, God called the firmament heaven. There is no earth yet, only the first realm. That which may be referred to as negative mass. Being potential. There is only the potential. Thus the soul is not yet encapsulated within matter, but is yet being formulated. And now closes the second day. Wonderful conversation. Even if we began scattered, it all found its way together. And I want to thank all of you for your participation, because without you, we would be totally lost.
Chaos.
And I want to thank you all for allowing me to share this with you.